What is up, McManus and May fam? We are all still in mourning after UFC 327 this weekend, but I have come up with a cheeky little plan today on how to save every single division in the UFC. So we are going to start all the way from flyweight and go all the way up to heavyweight. And I'm going to break down just kind of basic storylines and champions that I think would save the division. So let's get started, man. Let's not waste any time. Starting off, obviously Joshua Van is the champion right now. But I want to highlight Alessandro Pantoja. So going into UFC 328, we know that we have Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira, which I do believe Joshua Van will win. Whether or not he does win or lose, no matter what happens, I do think he will become a champion again. So what I think needs to happen is the winner of Taira Van has to take on Pantoja whenever he's good. But I think he is good. I think I've seen videos of him arm wrestling. I've seen all this. We need to get this fight done, and so we can get rid of this narrative of all these brain dead people, hating on the GOAT Joshua Van. I can understand you not, being happy with the outcome of that fight, but to blame Joshua Van and to put him down as a champion and as a fighter, I think is ridiculous. So I think absolutely what needs to happen is we need to run this back, man. We need to run this back ASAP so that we can finally, win or lose for Joshua Van, we can finally just be done with it. And even if he does lose, I think Pantoja should retire relatively soon, and Van will be champion again, no matter what. I can guarantee that. He's young and he's extremely talented. So that's what I think we should do with that division. Let's move on to the bantamweight division. Obviously, we got to do this fight, man. Obviously, we have to do this fight. Run the trilogy. I like Jan as a champion, but I love Marab, man. So here's what's going to happen is we're going to run the trilogy. We're going to do the third fight. Usually, the guy who won the second fight wins the third. That's not always true. Obviously, Max Holloway does some Poirier, stuff like that. But I can see Jan winning again. He's downloaded the data. But whether or not he wins or loses, I think the absolute next thing to do after this fight, because this is the fight that has to happen next, we will see the rise of not the rise. We'll probably, if Jan wins, we'll see a Sugar Sean fight. I can guarantee that because he's going to beat Eamon Zahabi at the White House. They're going to give him a title shot. And the rumor right now is Sanhagen versus Talbot for International Fight Week, and I really like that fight. I really like that fight, and I think the winner of that will take on, because I think in a five rounder, man, in a five rounder, I can see Jan winning that against Sean O'Malley. And I think if Marab loses to Jan again, I don't think we'll ever see him touch the belt as long as Jan is champion, which is disappointing. But I think this division is already so great. It's an extremely stacked division. Same with flyweight. Both these divisions are extremely stacked and don't really have a problem with the champion, obviously Joshua Van, but this division is stacked and there's a lot of moving pieces in it currently. So I'm excited to see where this goes. But obviously, this is the fight to make. This is where the first step in making this division even better. Let's move on. Obviously, the GOAT Alexander Volkanovski is still champion, and I think you have to do the Evloev fight. And here's what's going to happen: Volk's going to beat Evloev, and he has to retire. Please retire. Please, please, please retire. Volk retires on top. He beats these guys, everybody that we wanted to see him fight. We don't want to see the John Silva fight. Have Silva fight. I don't know who. Yair Rodriguez would be a great fight because he's just still sitting around doing nothing. Lopez Garcia. So if we really are going to be pushing for Lopez for a champion, so Evloev loses to Volkanovski. God forbid he wins. We do maybe Silva Volk, or not Silva Volk, Silva Lopez 2 for a vacant title, but I don't really want to see that. Um, I think that the most important thing that needs to happen in this division is for Volk to win and retire. That is absolutely what needs to happen. Again, this is another really stacked division. We've got some really big fights in this division coming up. Arnold Allen, Michael Zalacosta. We've got Yusuf Zalal versus Aljamain Sterling. Obviously, we just had a title eliminator bout. There's a lot of big fights happening in this division, a lot of things to look forward to. But I think first and foremost, we have to have Volk versus Evloev, and Volk will win, and he will retire. I hope so. Please. Let's move on to a division that I think we all want to see change. Yes, this is what needs to happen. I'll talk about Ilya Taporia in a second here, but we all know he's going to beat Justin Gaethje at the White House. And again, I'll talk about him in a minute here. But after that, I don't think he's going to stick around in this weight division. So we need to have another fight here. I don't want to see BSD versus Arman Sarukian for the vacant title. I mean, I don't want to see who else. Paddy Pimblett already fought for one, he lost. The only people at the top of the division who are coming off a win are Arman Sarukian and Charles Oliveira, realistically here. So we run this fight back as a 5 rounder main event for a vacant title. I think this is a tough fight for both guys. I mean, obviously Sarukian won the first fight 3 rounder, but many people do think Charles Oliveira won that fight. I won't speak on what my thoughts are because obviously I'm extremely biased towards DuBronx, but I think in a 5 rounder, and especially now, Sarukian's got so much momentum. Either Sarukian wins and is the champion at lightweight, finally, like everybody's been waiting for this to happen. And Charles either retires or we see him just beat everybody else, beat a Paddy Pimblett, beat BSD, beat all these other guys, just become like the top 5 gatekeeper. Or Charles Oliveira becomes champion, and I think at that point, I think he would retire. I think Charles Oliveira would win and retire, which would be, of course, the greatest like sports comeback ever. Not really, but it would just be a great feel-good moment for everybody out there. Because we know that Arman Sarukian, if you lose to DuBronx and he retires, I think Arman Sarukian beats everybody else in the division, realistically. Um, but this is what I want to see happen. Obviously, I want to see Charles Oliveira regain UFC gold again. Um, and I'd like to see him win the belt and retire on top. I don't want to see him, take another loss like an Ilya Taporia fight or something like that and end on a low note. And I also really do not want to see him just fizzle out like Israel Adesanya, like these guys that I love so much, who they just keep fighting and keep losing and losing and losing and losing and losing, and then they just fizzle out, and everybody just becomes haters and hates on them. Um, and I know people in the comments are going to say Charles doesn't deserve it. Charles just 50-45 Max Holloway. Beat Mateus Gamrot, which I think we got to give him a higher ranked opponent so we can actually see him. We all know that Sarukian deserves the lightweight shot, but tell me who else deserves the shot against Sarukian for the vacant belt at this point. I don't think anybody else does. BSD beat Dan Hooker. Yes, people have beaten other, while their opponents for a title shot. Charles, for example, Michael Chandler. But I think the rumor right now is that BSD is fighting Paddy Pimblett at International Fight Week. Again, I really like that fight. If either of those guys win that fight, I don't think that that's one that you deserve a title shot for. Maybe I can understand BSD a little bit more, but it's just kind of a pointless title fight. We know what's going to happen. Sarukian's going to run through him. But we'll see what happens. I know Arman says he wants to stay active, and he's got some time before something else, some more motion moves in this division. But this is the timeline that I want to see for the lightweight division. Now let's move on to what we all want to see. Obviously, this is what we need to do. Obviously. Ilya Taporia is going to beat Justin Gaethje in June, and I hope if he doesn't stick around to fight Sarukian, then I hope he moves up and we can finally get this fight. We can finally see it. The rumor was we were about to see it on the White House, but this is what we need to see. Obviously, we need to see this fight. Win or lose for either of these guys. I could see Taporia maybe going back to lightweight, depending on how good he looks in this fight. Excuse me. Would edit that out for sure. But this is the most anticipated fight that needs to happen. This is the dream fight for every single MMA fan ever. We need to see this fight. We need to see this fight. Islam Makhachev versus Ilya Taporia is arguably the greatest MMA fight you can make in the modern era. When Taporia starches Justin Gaethje out cold on the White House lawn, rumor is Islam is going to be fighting Ian Gary maybe in August. Hopefully he can fight somebody. I think he beats Ian Gary handedly. We need to see this fight. We need to see this fight. And once we do, after that, it depends on who wins. If Makachev wins, then we see him fight, winner of. We need to see maybe Michael Morales, winner of JDM Pratis if it's Pratis. Obviously, we don't want to see a JDM rematch just yet. But if it's Topuria, then that opens up the realm of possibilities so much more. Then just imagine Topuria versus Morales, Topuria versus Pratis, Topuria versus JDM. That opens up that door so much more. And where Islam goes from there, I have no idea. And if Ilya loses, I can see him if he just beats Gaethje and then goes up, I can see him going down and fighting Sarukian, or staying in 170, which I'd just be interested to see. But obviously, this is the fight to make. This is how to save this division that already is incredibly stacked. This division has so many moving pieces at the top, so many really high level fighters at the top, excluding Ian Gary. Pratis, JDM, Makachev is champion, Michael Morales, Sean Brady's still kicking around somewhere. Obviously, Ian Gary is there. But again, just this division is so stacked. Anything they do. But let's talk about something that I think we need to talk about. So, Khamzat Chimaev is fighting Sean Strickland at UFC 328 at the beginning of May. So the problem with this division is we have a lack of people at the top that I think deserve a title shot. And this fight is interesting because I do think Chimaev wins, but crazier things have happened. Strickland could pull off an upset, and that would be a good ending. Obviously, Chimaev is an incredible fighter. He's one of the highest skilled fighters we've ever seen in this division. But he's an inactive champion, and especially after Duplessis performance, people are just not impressed by your performance. So what I think should happen is if Chimaev beats Strickland, nobody wants to see the Imavov fight. I'm sorry, nobody really wants to see that. If they're going to do Imavov DDP because Brendan Allen's getting Shablazian in the Apex, come on, man. So what needs to happen is Chimaev, if he beats Strickland, which I think he will, we can maybe talk about him moving up. There's nobody else really for him to fight. Nobody else that, is at the top of the division that they go, you know what, they haven't seen that fight yet. Well, we got to see that one before he moves up. Defend the belt once or twice here, beat Strickland. If we really have to do the Imavov fight, do it. Just run through him. Just become a little bit more active. Become a little bit more of an active champion. You're taking 0 damage in these fights, and you're running through these guys. If Strickland wins, Chimaev would maybe move up, but then again, I could see them giving him an immediate rematch or giving him Imavov. But what else is there for Strickland to do? Strickland's beat Hernandez. He's fought Duplessis twice already. He's beaten Imavov already. Who else is there for him to fight if he becomes champion again? So I do think this division is kind of in a weird. It's in an extremely weird place. The problem is just the top level competition. Obviously we have Strickland. Hernandez just lost. Who else is even up there? Imavov. Oh, we have Brendan Allen. I mean, they're just throwing him in the Apex, though. So, all that we can really do is do Pyfer, Braulio. Brendan Allen's fighting a nobody. They're going to do Imavov, Duplessis. We have Strickland, Khamzat Chimaev. And everybody else is moving around or, not around anymore. So, it's tough. But, what you do Imavov, Duplessis. I think Duplessis wins that one. You do this fight. If Khamzat wins, he vacates. You do Duplessis versus the winner of Pyfer Braulio and move from there. So, yeah. But let's talk about the division above it. Man. Nobody really wants to at this moment. But you're going to have to hear me out when you see this. You're going to have to hear me out. Just wait a second. Hear me out. Hold on. So, Carlos Ulberg did just fluke the GOAT, Yuri Prochazka. Obviously, he fluked. It's a total fluke. Never meant to happen. But, jokes aside, he did have a nasty leg injury. And the history of this division, Jamal Hill becomes champion, he's injured, has to vacate. Yuri Prohaska became champion, got injured, had to vacate. Alex Pereira is no longer in this division. Ankalaev's at the top. He apparently has a fight slated for July in Abu Dhabi. Who he is fighting is beyond me because if you look at the top, um, maybe it's Khalil. Maybe it is Khalil. I would be interested in that. But Blachowicz and Guzgov are booked. Mirzakhanov just fought. Maybe Jamal Hill. Um, Everybody else, for the most part, is booked. So what we do is, if Olberg is seriously injured and he vacates, or they just do an interim title, you do one more fight. You do If we're gonna do Ankalaev versus Khalil, we do that, and you do Yuri versus the winner of Blachowicz versus Guzgov, maybe. Maybe the loser of them, no, because he's still what, second or third in the division. So you do that. You have either of these guys win. I think Ankalaev would probably beat Khalil. Um, but you do a vacant title. These guys, we know we want to see this. There's now beef because Ali Abdelaziz can't keep his mouth shut talking through other people's accounts. So there's beef now between these guys. Yuri's had beef with Ankalaev for a while, and I think Yuri beats Ankalaev. I know at this point it's hard to say, and I'm not going to hate on Yuri at all, and if you're hating on Yuri, you're sick and twisted in the head. But if Olberg is still sticking around, then give him a little bit of time to recover and have him fight the winner of Ankalaev's next fight or whoever is still at the top of the division. That's what we need to see because this division also is kind of slowed down now that Pereira is gone because Pereira beat everybody. We don't need to see him fight anybody else. And we'll talk about him in a second. But yeah, this is just a tough division right now, especially after the tragedy that happened. Because if Yuri had won, if he had locked in and won, then we could see Yuri Ankalaev for the belt. And I would pray that Yuri would win that, because God forbid Ankalaev becomes a champion again. Then this division is really screwed. This division is totally destroyed. You can see him against Paulo Costa at this point. Do Paulo Costa versus Olberg if he's still healthy. At this point, that's probably what's going to happen. But the best timeline, the best thing to possibly happen is for Yuri to be champion in this division. We all know it. If you don't think that way, if you think you really want Ankalaev and Olberg as a champion, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't even want to call you an MMA fan. I just want to call you a troglodyte. I'm going to put you down if you think that way. But that's what I think that needs to happen in the light heavyweight division. So let's move on to the last division for today. The heavyweight division. Guys, can't fucking see. Poke me in the eye. It's a terrible impression. Obviously, Alex Pereira is fighting Cyril Gane at the White House, and I think that he wins that fight. I really do think he beats Cyril Gane at this point. Here's what's going to happen. We do Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane loses, gets knocked out. We never give him another title shot again. Alex Pereira becomes heavyweight champion, or interim heavyweight champion, retires on top. Or he waits for Tom to get better and we do Tom versus Pereira. Would be awesome. If Alex Pereira then retires and the division is back open again, we obviously do the winner of Volkov and Cortez Acosta versus Aspinall. If it is Volkov, I don't think we really want to see the rematch. So then what you would do is at this point, there's a possibility that we could possibly see a Hokit title shot. Because think about who's at the top of the division that Aspinall hasn't already beaten. He's beaten most of these guys at the top. I think if you want to give Hokit one more fight, maybe a Pavlovich, that's fine by me. But I think the best possible scenario is that Pereira beats Gane and waits around and fights Aspinall, and we get this super heavyweight fight. I think this would be a great fight. I do think I would maybe lean towards Aspinall in this fight, depending on the outcome of the Cyril Gane fight. But if Cyril Gane becomes interim champion, obviously we have to run this fight back, and let's just tape his fingers down or cut him off. But yeah, it's this is also a difficult division because it is a terrible division. I mean, Talish and Teixeira, Shamil Gaziev are ranked. Tyrell Fortune is he's coming up. There's a lot of guys in the heavyweight division who are coming up that are making this division a lot better. Obviously, Hoken, after that absolute banger of a Curtis Blades fight, um, I I think is going to be ranked. He's top 5 now. So if we want to do him versus Pavlovich, we can do that, or the winner of, or the loser of Volkov versus Cortez Acosta, whatever we want to do. But you know what I want to do here. Let's do Aspinall versus Gon after he beats, or Aspinall versus Gon, Aspinall versus Pereira, or Aspinall versus Gon, depending on the outcome of the White House card. And if Pereira vacates after winning, then just do the winner of Cortez Acosta versus, or Volkov against Aspinall. But if it is Volkov, we've already seen that fight. I don't know if we really need to see it again. So the UFC, it's in your hands. We could see all I'm saying is we could see a Cortez Acosta or a Hokut title shot in the near future. That is my thoughts on every single division, on how to save them, if you will. Let me know your thoughts down below. How heavily do you disagree with all my thoughts? Do you agree with me at all in any divisions here? If so, let me know down below. I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this, hopefully in the near future, because I've got a lot of really good ideas on fights that I want to see, dream fights, just more videos like this of just theorizing and talking about what I'd like to see in the UFC moving forward. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye.